What's up, Green Bay Packers fans? Welcome back. As always, thank you for joining me. My name is Paul Brettel. Today, we're here to discuss Jordan Love and a couple items on the offseason to-do list. We'll also get into Packers running back Marshawn Lloyd. What's next for him going into his second NFL season? But first, before we do all that, you know what to do. Hit like on the video. Hit subscribe on the YouTube channel. I do greatly appreciate it. Follow me on Twitter at Paul_Brettel. Find all my work, including article versions of what we're discussing here today over at ESPNLacrosse.com. And my Wisconsin sports radio fans, download the 105.5 ESPN Lacrosse app. Packers, Brewers, Bucks, Badgers, everything you need can find me there as well. So like I said, we're going to start with Jordan Love off-season to-do list. And again, these are two items, and they were discussed by Matt LaFleur during his Tuesday end-of-season press conference. So again, there's other things that Jordan Love are going to be working on, but we got some insight into these two specific areas, so that's what we're going to discuss here today. Looking back at Jordan Love's second season as the Packers starting quarterback, obviously a bit of a roller coaster ride, right? He had the injuries that he had to navigate early on in the season. From weeks 11 through 15, he and the offense, they were operating at a high level. I know, given how the season ended, that's been forgotten about, but they had 5 straight games where they had put up 30 or more points. And then, again, these last 3 games of the season, just a disjointed, out-of-whack performance from Love, from the passing game, from the offense as a whole. So going into year 3 in 2025, being Love's third year as the starting quarterback for the Packers, what are some areas of emphasis? And again, these were highlighted by Matt LaFleur on Tuesday morning. First one we'll start with is footwork. And footwork is the foundation of success for the quarterback position. I mean, Tom Clements, the Packers quarterback coach, or he's retiring now, as Matt LaFleur announced, he said that, he said before that he can tell whether a pass is going to be on target, accurate or not, based on what the quarterback's footwork is like. And again, it's the cornerstone, that element for a quarterback's performance, right? Where their success starts. The accuracy, their ability to drive the ball, that starts in the lower body. And the footwork component, it's more than just steps, right? It's about executing the right drop to ensure that you're on time. You're playing within the timing and the rhythm of the play. The ball's coming out when it's supposed to. It's keeping your feet in constant movement. It's the synchronized movement with the quarterback's eyes, right? You want your feet and your eyes to align as you're going through your progressions. All that's crucial for a successful play, and deviating from any of that, right, it can lead to mechanics faltering, right? And then there's the accuracy issues, the mistakes, the miscues, all of that can ensue when just that one element is thrown off. So again, really, really important component. And for Tom Clements, the quarterback coach, that's always been the hallmark of where he starts, what he works on with his quarterbacks. But LaFleur mentioned that during the Eagles game on Sunday, there were some certain drops where Love was just, again, out of sync with his footwork, with the timing and the rhythm of the passing play, and particularly when the ball's supposed to come out quickly. That's where you can really start to see, again, an out of sequence footwork really impact the passing play. LaFleur also mentioned early on in the season when Love was injured and navigating the knee and groin injuries, and he was missing that practice time, right? So he either wasn't on the practice field or he was taking limited reps, again, reduced practice time, that there was a trickle-down effect to his footwork, not being able to be as dialed in on the technique, the fundamentals, because he just wasn't repping it as much. So it wasn't just in the Eagles game where, again, those issues, for lack of a better term, arise. It's been something, particularly during the first half of the season as well, that Love has had to navigate. And again, something that they'll want to hone in on during the offseason just to find that consistency. Because if he can find consistency with that aspect of it, again, everything like a snowball rolling down a hill, and it's all going to start to fall in line. The accuracy, the power, all of those different aspects that are obviously important elements to playing the quarterback position. Second component that Matt LaFleur talked about in terms of areas for Jordan Love heading into this new season, taking on a more prominent role as a vocal leader. And LaFleur said, Love has made strides in that regard, but just because you're a quarterback, just because you get a massive contract doesn't mean, hey, go out there and be a leader, right? That's a learned trait, not just for quarterbacks, but any job, any role in life, you have to learn those qualities. You have to learn what buttons to push at the right time in order to make sure that your message is effective. And LaFleur said that he wants, again, to see Love be more vocal. And I think where Love can really thrive with that leadership component is that he's built up the emotional bank account within that locker room. He is incredibly well respected, well liked by his teammates. Matt LaFleur said one of his best qualities is his ability to just be one of the guys, right? He's not just the franchise quarterback, contract, all that stuff. He's one of the guys in the locker room. It's his work ethic as well. That's also a part of that, emotional bank account that he's built up, is that his teammates see the level of work, commitment, all of that he puts in on a regular basis. So all of those elements together is going to give him the ability to voice his opinion when things aren't going right. When he sees the standard start to slip, when he sees things that need to be done at a higher level, that those comments that Love makes in those moments, right, it's going to hold more value to the players, again, because of the emotional bank account that he's built up over these last several years. Think about it in our own lives. If a close friend, if a family member, tells us, hey, we're not doing something very well, we need to improve in this area, that's going to land a lot better than if it's, the neighbor across the street who we talk to once every 4 months, right? It's going to land differently based on who tells you, because of the relationship that you have and the relationship that you've built up over time. And so again, when it comes to Love, because he's done that, right? He's laid that foundation. I think he's in a really good spot. And I think that's what Matt LaFleur wants to see from him, is because he's in a position to where his voice, and when he talks about those things, hey, we got to be better here, we got to do this differently, that carries weight because of who it's coming from. And not just because he's the quarterback, but because of all the things he's done during his time with the Green Bay Packers, before he was the starter, after he's become the starter. And as LaFleur said, hearing those critiques when needed from your quarterback, from a teammate, it's gonna land differently than if it's coming from your coach. It's gonna potentially carry quite a bit more weight. And so that's one area where they want to see Love take another step forward. And like I said, I think he's laid a terrific foundation to go in there and be a leader, right? And not to say that he hasn't been a leader. He has, but as LaFleur said, just more vocal about it. And I think a key part about that, again, this is a learned trait, right? None of us are just, hey, you're a leader, go do it. You got to learn it, right? You got to find your voice. You got to find how your message gets across while you're still being authentic. You're still being yourself. Because again, that's when it's going to land at its best. So those are really the two components, two things that Matt LaFleur mentioned in terms of areas or things on Jordan Love's to-do list going into this offseason. And before we transition to Marshawn Lynch, I just want to quickly speak about the Philadelphia Eagles game. Everything, or a lot of the things that we saw in that game were issues that we've seen, especially over these last 3 games, but over the course of the last month, right? It's the slow start. It's the lack of execution. It's the penalties. It's the self-inflicted mistakes that hurt this Packers team, that put them in a hole, that put them at a deficit that they just weren't able to overcome. And as LaFleur said, and it's true, when things are going really well, quarterback gets all the credit. When things are going really poorly, quarterback gets all the blame. To a degree, it's the nature of the beast, right? But he also said that's really not the case in either instance, right? Football's the ultimate team game, and I thought LaFleur laid out some really good examples of that. Let's look at Love's 2 interceptions. The one where Darius Slay picked off. Matt LaFleur said yes. Could the ball have been positioned less inside from where it was? Yes. But it's the receiver's job in those instances on that specific play to stack the cornerback, to create a window for Love to throw the ball into. That didn't happen, and LaFleur also said Darius Slay just made a heck of a play. On the interception by Zach Bond, the receiver was supposed to run the route at 20 yards cut in. he cut in at 15. Massive difference in where the defenders are, what's Love seeing with that 5-yard difference. So again, those are things we don't know watching in real time. What we did see in real time, and LaFleur mentioned, was the offensive line struggling against the Eagles' 4-man rush. Jordan Love being under steady pressure throughout the game. That obviously is going to disrupt the timing, the rhythm of the play, him going through his progressions. So again, I don't give those examples to, and LaFleur didn't either, to absolve Love. I mean, when LaFleur was asked, hey, does Jordan Love have to get better? Absolutely. He also said, do I have to get better? Absolutely. Do we need all 11 guys on offense to improve? Absolutely. My point with those examples, because I think they provide terrific context, right? Because we're watching that game. We see an interception. We see another interception. And like I said, there's areas to absolutely improve upon, but I think that context is important in showcasing the true full team nature, doing your 111th, as cliche as that is, to find success in the football game. So I say all that to say this. The issues that the Packers have had over the last 3 games have to get fixed. Everyone has to get better. That's the key part. Everyone has to get better. Everyone does. There is no one player. There isn't any one problem. I know we always want to pick what's this one thing that's working really well and just highlight it. What's this one thing that's not working? We got to figure out what that one thing is. That's just not the case. It's a lot of little things. And as LaFleur continued to reemphasize, the details. They have to get better with the details. And again, that's obviously going to be a big part of the offseason ahead, not just for Love, but this Packers team. All right, before we get out of here, let's talk about running back Marshawn Lloyd. As the Packers on Monday, the players were cleaning out their lockers. Marshawn Lloyd was there. We had the opportunity to speak with him, got a little bit of insight into just all the injuries that he navigated this season. And in Marshawn Lloyd's own words, it was a very, very rough year for him with those injuries, with those setbacks. But he also talked about what's ahead, and he's excited for what's ahead for him in his second season. So as we know, number of injuries Lloyd navigated this season. It started in training camp. His training camp was delayed, I think, about a week or two as he worked through a hip injury. Then in the Packers preseason opener against Cleveland, suffered a hamstring injury, which kept him out the rest of the preseason, and he missed week 1. Packers week 2 matchup of the regular season against the Indianapolis Colts, Lloyd suffered a foot injury. That ultimately landed him on IR, then working his way back from injured reserve, hoping to be activated and add to the roster. He gets appendicitis, has to have emergency surgery, and then working his way back from the appendicitis, he suffered another hamstring injury, and ultimately that's what ended his season. That's why we didn't see him, designated to return to practice at any point during these final weeks of the year. And like I said, that's ultimately what ended his season. So there's a lot there, right? There's a lot that went wrong, and Lloyd said, like he said, it was a very, very rough year for him, but to stay in the mix, right? To stay as involved as possible, especially for a rookie. He said he feels very, very confident in the playbook, feels he knows it in and out because of the work that he did off the field, right? Staying involved in the meeting room, staying involved with the weekly game plans, driving over to practice every day with Josh Jacobs, as Josh Jacobs took on what feels like a bit of a mentorship role, right? Put Marshawn Lloyd under his wing and helped him navigate, again, a rocky rookie season. Another part of this is Marshawn Lloyd, just like Christian Watson and Eric Stokes did last year, he went down to UW-Madison to try to figure out what the root cause of these soft tissue injuries, again, those hamstring injuries, that he was dealing with. He said he drove down one day. It was 5 hours of testing, running on different treadmills, doing all these different activities to, again, figure out what the root problem was. And I know from Christian Watson's example, and again, this is Watson, doesn't mean that this applies to Marshawn Lloyd, but Watson had said with his hamstrings, I forget which one, I think it was either right or left, obviously, but let's just say his right hamstring was significantly stronger than what his left one was. So again, that when you're running, operating at a high level, can carry an impact. So Marshawn Lloyd went down to UW-Madison to try to figure out what the issues were, and they put together for him a workout plan that he's already started. And again, he's really, really excited to get back at it, get healthy, and really be able to stay on the football field in year 2, because he brings a different element to this Packers backfield. I mean, when they first drafted him, Brian Gutekunst, then Matt LaFleur not long after, talked about the burst, the juice that he brings. And let me tell you, on the practice field, it is clear as day. I mean, his ability to change directions, lightning quick. His burst when he puts his foot in the ground, just heads up field, lightning quick. There is a different skill set there than what the Packers have in Jacobs or Chris Brooks or Emmanuel Wilson. And so again, having that element that he brings, if you're Matt LaFleur, it's another versatile player, another added element that defenses now have to account for. And Matt LaFleur has also talked about they really believe that he can be a big pass catching option out of the backfield. Again, there's another wrinkle to this Packers offense that defenses have to account for. So getting Marshawn Lloyd back on the field in 2025, having him available, I think, again, be really, really important to the running back position, because there is some serious playmaking ability that he can add to this team. And for Josh Jacobs, I think he had 319 carries this season, including the postseason. And for Jacobs, that's nothing new. That's what he's done his entire career. He relishes that opportunity. He wants the ball at all times. But if you're the Packers and you have a steady playmaking presence, and again, they have Emmanuel Wilson, Chris Brooks, guys that they can rely on. But again, Marshawn Lloyd brings something different to the table. If you have that player available as well, that's potential less of a workload that you have to put on Jacob's shoulders over the course of the season. So there's a bit of a trickle-down effect to the rest of the running back room in terms of getting Marshawn Lloyd back. But he's going to have to navigate a learning curve. While he's confident in his ability in knowing the playbook, as Matt LaFleur said, there's knowing the playbook, what's on paper, and then there's executing it on the football field when everything's moving a million miles an hour. That's going to be the part of the equation, training camp, early in the regular season, as he gets back into the mix, because he just didn't have that, right? For one, he's missed almost an entire year of football from college to when we get to year 2 here in 2025 for him. In addition to that, there's just adjusting to the NFL game speed, right? What defenses do, how fast the players are, how strong the players are. So there's still going to be a learning curve that he's going to have to navigate. And the passing component, we all know how important that element is to playing the running back position. Again, Matt LaFleur spoke very highly of his ability to help out in the passing game. Targets-wise, he didn't have a ton during his time in college. And again, that doesn't mean he can't do it. It just means he wasn't utilized in that capacity. And the pass blocking element as well. That's something for like Emmanuel Wilson. It's taken a year plus for him to really find that groove where the Packers trust him in those situations. Chris Brooks has obviously been very good in that regard. So that's going to be another, again, part of the learning curve, another aspect of the running back position that, again, we don't talk about a lot because you're focused on what they do as a ball carrier. But those are elements that Marshawn Lloyd is going to have to adjust to, where he's going to have to, showcase his reliability in those components. So there's going to be a learning curve for him in 2025. But again, brings something different, brings a ton of juice, playmaking ability with that speed, that burst that he has. And you pair that with Josh Jacobs, and you can really, really start to see what this Packers running back room, which is already obviously very good, but what can be added to it with Lloyd in the mix. And again, he's excited about what's ahead. He's ready to show everyone what he's capable of. So there you have it, my friends. I appreciate you tuning in. You know what to do. Hit like on the video. Hit subscribe on the YouTube channel. Follow me on Twitter at Paul_Brettel. Find all my work over at ESPNLacrosse.com and download the 1055 ESPN Lacrosse app. So until next time, friends, take care.